Hey y'all! Welcome back to my channel, Scotty Cherie Reads. I know it's been a minute, but I am going to talk about all the books that I've read so far this year. I was going really hard with 2 videos a month in January, and then shit just kind of fell apart, but I have been reading during that whole time, just haven't been on social media as much. So grab a drink, it's gonna be a decently long one, hopefully not too long though, and we'll talk about all of the books that I have read so far this year. So I have my Goodreads and some notes that are on here, so if I'm looking at my phone, I'm sorry, but some of these books I read in January, so I needed to jog my memory a little bit. For starters, in January, I did the Wayward Children series vlog for the new book, Adrift in Currents Clean and Clear, I believe that's what it's called. And I read all of the books, and there's a decently long vlog that I will have linked above, so go check that out. It's one of my favorite series, and I can't wait for the new one that just got announced to come out in January. Hopefully I can get an arc like I did for the last book. And then I have been working on a secret project, and I've been doing this in February for Black History Month, but I did read some books. I'm not going to say what they are because it's going to ruin the surprise for the vlog, or potentially a 2-part vlog, because I've read quite a bit of books for it. And yeah, so look forward to that. I'm very excited about it. I've been having a lot of fun, but I'm not going to say anything else about it. So just look out for those that are going to come out in the next month or so. All right, then I had another super exciting read, which was my first ARC ever that I've received, and that is, I don't actually have it because it was on my Kindle, but it's called the In-Between Bookstore by Edward Underhill. And I'm glad that I got that one as an ARC. It was a cool read. I gave it 3.5 stars. It was just fine. Like, I'm glad that I read it, and I think that if this concept sounds good to you, which I'll get into in a second, then I would say definitely pick it up. But it just went in a direction that I wasn't expecting, which is fine, but okay, anyway, so basically it follows our main character, Darby, who is a trans man, and he lives in New York City, but decides to move back to his Midwestern town with his mother at the age of 30 to help his mom like downsize because she's moving from like their family home to the condo, and Darby's kind of in a weird place in his life where he doesn't really know what he's doing and stuff, so he thinks like a good reset back home would be great. So when he's back in his Midwest town, he goes back to one of his favorite places from when he was there like in high school and growing up, which is the bookstore that's in town. However, there's something magical that's happening, and the bookstore actually is stuck back in time in high school. So when Darby walks in, Darby sees himself in high school, and like everything else is back when he was in high school, and he's trying to figure out what's going on. So when he leaves the bookstore, he's back in present time when he's 30, but when he's in the bookstore, it's back when he's in high school. So once he comes out and he's tripping a little bit, he realizes that it's in the present time, and he runs into his old childhood friend named Michael, and Michael and him haven't been friends since high school. There was a really big fallout, and they just haven't communicated. Darby ran away to New York City, and they just haven't talked. So Darby is just kind of like, I don't really remember what happened in high school. Like, I really cared about this guy. Like, I don't remember what happened, like trauma blocking probably. So Darby decides to utilize the bookstore to go back in time and see what happened with Michael, if Darby can mend that, and the story just goes from there. So I think with that description, it kind of sounds like it's a romance a little bit, and there are romantic elements in this book, but I would not classify this as a romance book. So that's all I want to say, because it'll be spoilers if I explain why, but I think that's like why it was kind of like lackluster at the end for me, because it didn't go where I thought it was going to. And I think that was intentional from the author's perspective for sure, but it's just not what I wanted. So that was just it. Things that I liked about it, I really liked the time traveling elements. They were fleshed out decently well, and but I really, really enjoyed those. Darby's relationship with his mother that he's trying to rekindle was really sweet, and just the journey of like self-love, and for Darby to be able to go back and see Darby pre-transition. So I don't know if I said that, but when they go back in time in the bookstore, Darby in high school had not transitioned yet. So it's interesting to see like the differences from pre-transition to post-transition adulthood. Dislikes, I think it was a pretty melancholy story. I said it's not necessarily bad, but it wasn't what I expected, like I said before. Yeah, so if that sounds interesting to you, it's definitely a good read. It's a fast-paced read, like it doesn't get super slow. It's worth your time. I just don't think I'm gonna buy it. I'm glad that I got it for an arc, but you know, wasn't a waste of time. 3.5 out of 5 stars. For these next 2 books, I'm going to go through them very quickly because I already have a vlog featuring them up top, which I did a try a chapter tag for winter-esque books. And what I picked for that one is No Exit by Taylor Adams and Beartown by Frederick Bachman. So No Exit I actually gave 2 stars. I'm not going to go into detail what this is about. If you want to watch it, you can watch the full vlog up top. I go into, you know, the summary. I'm vlogging as I'm reading through it and giving my full thoughts, but 2 stars. There's actually another book that I read that's in this pile that I'll get to that did a similar, like, enclosed, like, rest stop trapped horror story that I liked a lot better. So this was 2 stars. Unfortunately, I didn't really care for this one. But Frederick Bachman, this one, Beartown, was a win. This one was a 5-star read for me. I obviously tabbed it up a lot, but I'm sad because I was planning on going into the next book because this is a trilogy, I believe. I'll put them here. And I was going to go into the next one and I haven't. And since I read this in January, I believe, I'm having a hard time kind of remember some of the things. So I might have to do a quick reread or just go through my tabs and see if I'm brushed up on it and hopefully pick up the second one soon. Next up, I read The Trees by Percival Everett, and I actually read it for Shelby Monet's book club called Shelby and the Book Club. I'll have her information linked below, but she's a great YouTuber, and she picks awesome books for her book club. They're all Black authors, and this was actually my first Percival Everett. I do own James, which just came out, and I'm sure that everyone has seen that book, which is a retelling of Huckleberry Finn. I need to get to it, and I have not yet, but I'm eager to because I gave this one 4.5 stars. Percival Everett's writing is so good. Like, I don't know, it's so unique, and the way that he puts humor into his stories that the topics are very dark is unheard of. Like, I don't know. I'm very impressed by Percival Everett and can't wait to pick up some of his other books. Just to give you an idea of what this is about and what I mean by kind of dark is that it's in present day in Money, Mississippi, and basically there is a murder that happens, and it's really weird because when the detectives and the police like show up to this murder, there's a like unexpected second dead body that's at the scene that no one knows who it is. But the kicker is that this body is similar to like Emmett Till's body. So it's a black boy who is completely disfigured and just completely brutally murdered. And this same body is found at multiple murders throughout the country. So obviously there's something weird that's going on, and we're going through the journey with the detectives to figure out what the hell is happening. And it was so good. It's a really fast read. I don't know if you guys can kind of see, but there are like a lot of big indents and stuff, and the font's pretty big. So yeah, I read this in one sitting and I cried in this book. It was just a good one. Let me look at my notes and see if I'm missing anything. Oh, me speaking about how much I really liked it, I only give it 4.5 stars. You guys are probably like, why? The twist at the end, I had guessed realistically, and I think that like the detectives in here were kind of dumb. I think that was kind of the point in some regards, but I wish that the twist would have been a little bit more shocking for me. So that's one of the only reasons why I gave it or knocked it down a half star. And then heavy topics that I really liked, and I think that Percival Everett handled really well, was the habitual murder of Black people, the legacy of lynching in the United States, police violence, and what does justice mean in general. So yeah, that sounds interesting to you. Definitely pick it up. Let me know in the comments what Percival Everett I should read next. Like I said, I have James, but there are so many other books that he has, and I'm just eager to pick something up. I have another book club book that I read up next, which is Rest Stop by Nat Cassidy. And I read this for the Midnight Society book club. I'll have all the information linked below. And it's just a short little novella, but this is the book that I was talking about earlier when I was talking about No Exit that I think did the enclosed rest stop horror vibe better. So I give this one 3.5 stars. The main character accidentally locks himself in a rest stop's bathroom at night, and shit just happens after that. And it gets pretty gory. There's a lot of body horror in here, and I just think Nat Cassidy, the suspenseful feeling was done really, really well. I think that like the story where it was going was a bit goofy and like unbelievable at certain points, which is why I gave it a 3.5 star, but the enjoyment I felt while reading this book and the suspense and fun that I had while reading this book was up there. So I definitely say check it out. It's so short, like 130 pages ish. I read it in one sitting and I definitely enjoyed it. This was my first Nat Cassidy, and then I've actually read a second one, which you'll hear shortly, that I really liked as well. So Nat Cassidy, I'm excited to pick up more of his books as well. Okay, so I feel bad about this next book because, y'all, I don't remember anything from Family Meal by Brian Johnston. Oh, see, I can't even get the name of the author right. Brian Washington. Oh my gosh, I feel so bad. Like, sorry to this man. I don't know. There's like the main character, Cam, I want to say, like his lover passed and he went back home and like is rekindling a friendship with this dude named TJ. And it's like, do they have a relationship? Do they not? But it was kind of boring when I read it. I think the reason why I don't remember much at all, because most of the time I remember something, but this one, like, literally I don't remember anything, is because I read it for a book club, a local book club, but I wasn't actually able to attend that meeting, so I never talked about it with anyone. And two, I was, like, cramming this because I was hopefully trying to go to that meeting, so I read it in, like, a day or two while I was also, like, working and stuff, so that's just my fault. My rating says I give it 3 out of 5 stars, but I feel like I'll keep it for now and maybe reread it in the future where I can actually like invest time into it, because I do want to support like Black male gay authors, you know, and I just feel bad because I don't remember. And I also know that he wrote a book called Memorial, which a lot of people really like. I've heard good things about, so yeah, sorry to this book, but I'll have to give it another try. The next one here is a fun one because I picked it up because RuPaul came into town for his book tour. So I read The House of Hidden Meanings by RuPaul. I originally listened to it and read it, like tandem read on my Kindle. And RuPaul actually narrates the audiobook, which was phenomenal. But I got this copy because one of my friends named Adam picked this up for me and surprised me. So thanks again, Adam. It was super sweet that you did that. And yeah, in terms of a rating, I'm not really gonna rate the memoir. I generally don't rate memoirs unless it's like a 5 star, which like super relates to me because I just don't really feel comfortable rating someone's like story. However, I would say that it was fine. Like it was a fine enough story. I learned a decent amount about RuPaul, but I thought that it was gonna get more into his climb to fame, and it kind of ends at that point. It focuses more on like his childhood, him discovering who he is, what he wants to do, and his relationship with his husband George. But yeah, it was fine. It was fun. It was quick. RuPaul, like I said, narrates his own things, his own audiobook, so I would say listen to it because RuPaul is super entertaining. In terms of the book tour, he was fantastic, as funny as ever, and a very engaging speaker. And also, he's tall as hell. Like, I mean, I knew he was tall, but when he came out, like, my jaw dropped. Like, my husband's 6'4", and I was like, Jesus, like, he is, he is tall. But yeah, that was a fun one, so pick it up if you're a RuPaul fan. He's an icon. Okay, next up I have This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan, and 5 out of 5 stars. I love this. This is in the Skyland series, which I've talked about before. I have read Before I Let Go, which is another 5-star read, and then I actually have the 3rd book, Can't Get Enough, and I'm not going to say much, just wait for this reading vlog that should come out within the next week or so. Stay tuned, because I'm a little shocked with this book, but you'll get the information. Just stay tuned for that vlog. However, talking about the 2nd book, This Could Be Us, This one was fantastic. It follows Soledad, who we do meet in the first book, and she is married to this man named Edward, and when this book starts, they're basically breaking up. Edward's an asshole, and he actually gets into like a lot of trouble and really like uproots Soledad and their kids and really just kind of changes the whole trajectory of their lives. And the betrayal was like insane. Insane. But eventually, you know, Soledad has to hold it down for her kids and have to figure out how to be an independent woman, do all of that stuff. And she runs into a guy named Judah Cross, and she's like intrigued with him and stuff, but for other reasons, she doesn't feel like she can really like date him. And on top of that, she's just not really ready to date or like be with anyone after coming out of a long-term marriage, and like she has kids and stuff. So it's kind of like, will they, won't they? Like, is she, you know, can she trust herself? Like, can she trust him? Is it going to work out? And that's all I want to say. Kennedy Ryan's books are good. Like, I'm very eager to see what else she has. This one, we'll talk about, but the writing in this book, I really, really enjoyed. So yeah, 5 out of 5 stars. Pick it up if you haven't. Okay, the next one I read for a book club as well, and this one was for KELSEE's book club, the Sweetheart Book Club. I'll have all that information linked below. Definitely join and support KELSEE. I love her channel. But I read The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monica Kim. And I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. It was fun. I've been reading really quick, fast, like horror books. I don't know why that's been my vibe this year, but this was a great one. We follow Ji Wong, who is a Korean American. And basically throughout the book, it's not a spoiler, but she turns into a serial killer that eats eyeballs. So yeah, like basically it starts because like her mom eats a fish and she likes to eat the eyes of the whole fish. And Ji Wong kind of gets like obsessed with that and eventually is like killing in order to consume eyeballs. But I feel like this little blurb up top, I'm not going to read the whole synopsis, does a good job of explaining what it is. It says, crying in H Mart meets My Sister the Serial Killer and this feminist psychological horror about the making of a serial killer from a Korean American perspective. Pretty much what I said. I only gave it 4 stars instead of 4 out of 5 because the ending, even though the ending was fast paced and it made sense, it just seemed a little far-fetched for my liking. So I just knocked it down 1, but I definitely think it was a good book. Oh my gosh, sorry, I'm just looking to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. The white male character in this book was atrocious. So I can understand, I actually know some people that DNF'd this book because I just couldn't deal with the white main character. And so just know that going in, he is fucking despicable, but you know, you just gotta get through it to get through the point and the themes and what the author is trying to say. But yeah, if that sounds interesting to you, I think you should pick it up. Also, I really, really like this cover. It's gorgeous. Next book I don't own, but I read for another book club. You guys are probably like, do you only just read for book clubs? I don't know, book clubs like really help me. There are a lot of like online friends and communities that have book clubs, and I just like to join when I can, like for a book that seems interesting to me. I'm not like faithful for every single book club. It's just like, oh, if I'm gonna read, like interested in reading that book, it's fun to read with other people and talk in the Discord and join the live shows and things like that. And then there's one local book club that I go to each month, or try to each month, with local like close friends, and I read it for that local book club that I go to in person, and that is She's Always Hungry by Eliza Clark, which is a short story horror collection. I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. It was really great. Obviously, I didn't give it a 5-star read because not every single short story hit 100%. There were some that were really, really, really good that I really liked, and I'll get into that. And there were some that were just okay. But there weren't any that I regretted reading, because sometimes it definitely does happen with short stories of like, I don't want to read that. Like, you know, it was just like a 1-star. So no, I would say all of them were probably like 3 stars or above. So averaged out to 4.5 or 4 out of 5 stars. So there's a lot of horror, body horror, horrors of like actual life. And what I really liked is there were a lot of conversations about like the climate crisis. So go into it wary if that's something that is triggering for you, because it did feel kind of close to home. Some of my favorites in the collection were Build a Body Like Mine, which I believe is the first one, Hollow Bones, The King I really liked, and so did a lot of people in the book club, and Company Man. So yeah, I would say it's a solid collection. I actually hope to read Eliza Clark book, Boy Parts, which I own, but I don't have. I'll throw it up here this month for my June queer books that I have on my shelf. So look out for that wrap up to see what I thought about Boy Parts. Okay, this next book's gonna be a little controversial, but I really did not like Girl Interrupted by Susanna Kaysen. So this is a nonfiction book, and it is the author's retelling, or they're talking about their experience when they were, I believe, 18. Yeah, 18 years old, and they were sent to a like really famous like psych ward in the 60s. And I thought that this was gonna be like my next favorite read. And I just did not care. I don't know if it was just like the writing style. I don't think that she went in depth enough. Like there was so much more that I wanted. I also feel like it was just kind of very white focused, like white girl problems. Like that sounds really bad because this is someone's like real story, you know? So I don't know. Maybe I was just like really hyped in my head about what this was gonna be, but I did not like this at all. Like I'm gonna unhaul this book. It just was not for me. I was super excited to read or to watch the movie adaptation as well, but because I didn't like this book, I haven't even watched it. So let me know. I know a lot of people do like the movie adaptation, but I don't know. If you think it's worth it and you didn't like the book but you like the movie, let me know in the comments below, as maybe I'll give it a try, but this just was not for me. So sorry, not trying to like invalidate her experience or anything, but yeah, just not for me. Okay, after that little bit of a downer, I have one of my favorite books that I've read this year. And thank you to Robin and Jess, Jess Owens and Robin Reads. I'll have them linked below. And I finally picked up Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson, which they have been raving about since like last year. So I finally read it, and I definitely understand why they're raving about it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It was great. Delilah S. Dawson's writing is so flowery and pretty, and I don't know, I like almost want to go back and listen to this on audiobook just to have someone else read these words to me. Like that's how great the writing was. I kind of wrote a summary here because I didn't want to spoil much. It's easy to spoil this book. So I put, this book follows 2 women, Rosemary and Ash, who meet at a farmer's market and begin spending a lot of time together. It's a sapphic story. Then the obsession starts to play a part and things get weird. So yeah, that's all I want to say. It's even reading the back honestly gives the twist away. However, I do want to say, if you know what the twist is, because looking on the cover and reading the back, it's not that hard to guess what it is. I think it's still worth reading because the twist at the end, you do know the main twist, but then the way that the book actually wraps up surprised me. I didn't think she was going to go there with it, if that makes sense. If you know, you know. So yeah, if you like weird girl horror stories, definitely pick up Bloom. I can't wait to pick up other Delilah S. Dawson's books. If you have any recommendations, please leave them below, because like I said, I already want to reread this one and listen to it on audiobook. It was that good. All right, the next book I have here is the other Nat Cassidy book, who I talked about beforehand with Rest Stop, and that is When the Wolf Comes Home. This was good. Like, this book was so fun to get through. Even though this book is decently long, I mean, it's like 300 pages and the font's like pretty small, I got through it in like 2 sittings. Sorry, I'm gonna look at my notes so I don't spoil anything, because it's kind of easy to spoil this one as well. It says, we follow Jess, who's a 31-year-old struggling actress who stumbles upon a 5-year-old boy who's running away from his abusive dad. The dad ultimately finds them, and there's like a disastrous event that occurs that forces Jess and the boy to go on the run. So that's all I want to say. If that sounds interesting to you, from the cover you can probably tell what it's actually going to be about. But it was great. It was a little more deep than I thought it was going to be, because some of the themes in here are like adult versus childhood fear. And I love when books do that. Like, It plays with that a lot, like It by Stephen King. And I just think that's really interesting, like what kids view as scary versus like the just daily scares or anxieties of like adulthood, and how adults versus children handle those fears, or, you know, or sit with those fears differently. I really liked the way that he played with that. He talked about the complexities of like fatherhood relationships a lot in this book, and actually in the afterword, he talks really intimately about his relationship with his dad and like how some of the parts influence this book, which I thought was really cool. I have a soft spot for authors that do that kind of talk about their own personal experience and how it has influenced their writing. So that's really cool. There's also a lot of fun pop reference culture. Jesus. There are also a lot of pop culture references in this book. I wouldn't say a lot. There were a few, but they kind of surprised me, but they were done really well. Because sometimes, like, you can go overboard with some of the pop culture references for sure, and that can definitely be like a turnoff for me in books. But he did it really, really well in this story. So yeah, 4 stars, definitely a great read. I can't wait to pick up Mary or Nestlings by him, because I know that those books, one of them focuses on like his mother and the other one focuses on who else? Someone else in his family, because I know it's like a 3-parter, like they're all individuals, but was it a grandparent? I'll leave it here. I can't remember, but I want to definitely read those and see how they all work together. So yeah, Nat Cassidy is doing great things, and if you haven't picked Nat Cassidy up, I definitely would recommend it. Next up was another book that I read for the Sweethearts Book Club over at KELSEE, or KELSEE's book club, and this one was really fun. It's Strange Pictures by Uketsu, and I had never heard of this book until it was revealed that's what the book was going to be for the month of May. We still need to do the live show, which should be June 7th, which should be like this Saturday, I believe. So you have a little bit of time if you want to join that. Plug in KELSEE a little bit, because it is a very short read, and I would say to read it in one day or one sitting if you can, because it is so immersive. It is like a mystery horror thriller that you're trying to figure out what is going on based off of these seemingly like innocent pictures. Like, this is the first one. These are incorporated in the story as well. And it was just a good time. This little blurb says, the spine-tingling bestseller that has taken Japan by storm, an eerie fresh take on mystery horror in which a series of seemingly innocent pictures draws you into a disturbing web of unsolved mysteries and shattered psyches. That's all I want to say. Definitely worth it. What did I rate it? I rated it a 4.5 out of 5 star. Very fun. Yeah, definitely check this one out. Okay. Next one was also for KELSEE's book club. It's Skyful Elephants, but unfortunately I DNF'd this one, and I feel like people are going to be surprised, because I was very surprised about that fact, because this was like one of my most anticipated books, or I thought this was going to be like a 5-star read for sure, because the premise, let me tell you, it sounds so intriguing, I don't know where it went wrong, but it's about like the modern day world, and it's like if we were to wake up and every single white person, for whatever reason, goes and drowns themselves in whatever nearest body of water that they have that's near them. So every single white person, the white race, is completely wiped out from America, and you know, everyone else who's not white just wakes up one day and it's like, well, what would America look like if white people were just gone? And that was so fascinating to me, but I think that the problem that Sibo Campbell had is that is a big idea. Like, there's so many things that you can talk about in terms of race, the justice system, travel, the minority groups coming together, because just because all white people are gone, like, I mean, there's still Asians, there's still multiple different like races and ethnicities that are still around. Who has power? Who has control? What's order look like? Like, it's just a lot, and this book isn't that big. So I think, unfortunately, I got to page 132. So I got decently far, like almost halfway through this book, and I could just tell I was going to be disappointed. And it was like slow. At that point, I was just bored, and I just didn't really care. And then KELSEE's review came out, and I feel like she kind of felt the same way. She finished it, but I was like, okay, if she's saying that, I trust her opinion, so I'm just not gonna finish it. However, I probably will pick up another Sibo Campbell. I think this is his debut novel. I want to say, I'll leave it on the bottom here if I'm wrong. I have to fact check myself, but yeah, unfortunately, was a D and F for me. Okay, we're almost there, but the next one's really fun because I reread a series to continue on, and one of my most anticipated books of this year, and it's taken the internet by storm right now, and I'm sure you can guess. It is the Hunger Games trilogy, and I did read the 5th book, which just came out this year, Sunrise on the Reaping, but I already gave my copy to a friend because I was like, you need to read it so we can like chat about it because I have so many thoughts. But I reread the series. So originally I read the first 3 books when I was in high school, and I never reread them after that. So I decided to reread all of them, and they were so much fun. It was fun to go back into that world. I'm just gonna give my quick ratings on each book. I'm not gonna go over the synopsis and stuff because I feel like you all know what the Hunger Games is about, and if not, just look it up. It's been around for a while. It's a very popular dystopian book. So the Hunger Games, the first one, I gave 5 out of 5 stars. I still think the first one is my absolute favorite. And then Catching Fire, I gave 4.5 stars. Mockingjay, I gave 3.5 stars. And then this was my first time reading The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which is President Snow's story. And it was just okay. I mean, it was 3 stars. Some people like really hated it and said it was like 1 star. So that's why I like held off until this year to read it. I didn't even pick it up when it came out a few years ago because the reviews were just so terrible. But I am glad that I read it before reading the next one, Sunrise on the Reaping. I wouldn't have known a lot about like the Covey and things like that. So I'm glad that I read it. It was fine enough, just 3 stars. And then Sunrise on the Reaping, I gave a 4 star, but honestly I might give it a 4.5 because I can't stop thinking about it. And this is Haymitch's story, where it talks about his story, which is the 50th Games, which is the Quarter Quell. And it's the first time that they surprise them and up the stakes, I believe, and they have 4 people from the districts go into the Hunger Games instead of 2. So normally there's a boy and a girl, but this time it's gonna be 2 boys and 2 girls. So the numbers doubled in the Hunger Games match. And yeah, it was good. It was heartbreaking. I cried a lot at the end, and yeah, I just think it was a really cool book. It was a lot better than President Snow's book, in my opinion. The fan service isn't for everyone, but it was definitely for me. I like to see a lot of the other characters previously and get to know their backstories a bit more and how their relationships are interconnected that we didn't know beforehand. The themes of propaganda are huge and very relevant in this book, so I would say definitely pick it up if you're interested. Don't let this one deter you if you didn't like it, because Sunrise on the Reaping was great. Okay, just 2 more books, and the next one I'm going to be pretty quick because it's going to have its own dedicated review, and that is Salem's Lot by Stephen King. I mentioned a long time ago that I want to read Stephen King's books in publication order, and I read Carrie, and I loved it, and then I just never got around to another one, except for in May, I picked up Salem's Lot, which was the next one, and finished it, and I really liked it. I think I gave it a 3.5 star out of 5. It's his vampire book, basically, and that's all I'm gonna say. It was fast-paced, it was fun. I think that there were a lot of characters in here, and I don't think there was enough time with each character to feel invested in some of their deaths. I also think the main character, Ben, his perspective was like okay, but he wasn't the most interesting character in the book, in my opinion. So when we were in his perspective or talking about him and his story, it was a little boring, so I liked some other people a little bit better. But yeah, obviously, like, I'm still gonna keep going through Stephen King's books. I think that I've liked it and like Carrie a bit more, but also very glad I read it. It was great. This is also really my first like vampire story, aside from Twilight, because I read all of Twilight through high school, but that doesn't really count. Like OG true like vampire stories. This is the only one. I haven't read Dracula yet or anything like that. So yeah, it was fun. Alrighty, we're on the last book, or the most recent book that I've finished, and it was for another book club, which is the Midnight Society with Reading Riley, that I'll have linked below. And that is The Unworthy by Augustina Basterrica. And unfortunately, this was a pretty disappointing read for me too. I think that I went into this book with real high hopes because this author wrote one of my favorite books of all time, which is Tender as the Flesh. If you haven't read that book, look at the trigger warnings, but it's fantastic. I love that book so much. It's about time for me to reread it. But this book came out this year. It's a little novella, so I was very excited, got it right away, and read it very quickly in one sitting, and it was just all right for me. I think it just needed to be longer, and My issues is that the beginning was kind of slow, and then eventually it picked up, but then it didn't dive deeper into the themes that I'll talk about in a second, as I would have hoped. So just the pacing was an issue for me, and yeah, unfortunately I just didn't really care for it. The summary, sorry, I wrote a summary here because this is a book that's easy to spoil as well, and I put, it takes place in the future where a climate catastrophe plunges the world into chaos. The main character finds her way to a convent, and like weird shit and torture starts to happen there. So a lot of gruesomeness in here. So even with the cover, it might not look like it's a horror book, but it definitely is. There's a lot of weird, gross stuff that happens. So look at your trigger warnings. There is a sapphic relationship in this book that I really enjoyed and I wasn't expecting. So that's what really kept me through and like actually kept it at a 2.5. I think if that relationship hadn't been there, it would have been a lot lower. After being on the live show, which I'll have linked below, I understand why people do like this book, and I like what Augustina Basterrecka tries to do in terms of like feminist literature. I just don't think that I think it wasn't tackled, I don't want to say it wasn't tackled well, it just wasn't deep enough for me. You know, like the book's really, really short. I just wanted a bit more. So it was fine. I'm not upset that I read it. I'm glad that I read it, but it's not something that I'll be thinking about for a long period of time and probably won't reread. It just didn't hit like Tinder in the Flesh did. But I'm sure if this author comes out with other stuff, I will definitely pick it up. So yeah, that is it. Those are all of the books that I read. Well, aside from the ones for the secret vlog that you'll see or I'll reveal in the next month or so, but look out for that. I've read, I think 30 books exactly this year. So even though I haven't been on social media and like posting on YouTube and stuff, my reading year has been pretty good so far. But yeah, that's it. If you like what you saw here, please subscribe to my channel, leave a little like or comment in the comment bar. It really helps me out, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.